remain in severe disrepair, enabling criminals to ambush travelers and escape after attacks and exploit footpaths for concealment. Further concerned that Kwara South alone has recorded over 40 abductions in the last 18 months, mirrors similar surge in neighboring states and contributing to a broader national crisis affecting schools, farms, worship centers, and rural communities. Worry that continued inaction risks mass displacement, prolonged school closures, collapse of rural livelihoods, and long-time psychological trauma and vulnerable populations. Commends President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for his exemplary leadership and swift response to Iruku, Kebbi, and Niger attacks, particularly his decision to cancel his scheduled foreign trips in order to personally coordinate and oversee security efforts at home, demonstrating his commitment to the safety and well-being of Nigerian citizens and the federal government's ongoing efforts and resource development to address insecurity in affected areas, which has led to the release of 51 students in Niger State and all the 338 abducted worshippers in Kwara State. Acknowledges the courage, unity, and resilience of people of Kwara South, particularly Ekiti people, especially the local vigilante, and similarly recognizes the resilience of communities in Kebbi and Niger State. The next is the Senate, therefore resolves to 1. Call on communities in Kwara, Kebbi, Niger, and across Nigeria to remain united, vigilant, and supportive of security efforts while resisting internal collaborators who undermine national security. 2, commend President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and security agencies for their rapid intervention and urge them to sustain coordinated operations until all abducted persons nationwide are rescued and perpetrators apprehended. All the Federal Ministry of Works to commence immediate reconstruction of Itofio-Mara, Iruku, Egbe, Kaba axis, Federal Highway axis. 4, mandate the Nigerian Army, Police, DSS, and Defense Intelligence Bureau to intensify intelligence-driven operations, including area surveillance, forest combing, cross-state collaborations, and community-based intelligence system across Kwara, Kogi, Kebbi, Niger, and other hotspots in Nigeria. 5, call for establishment of a joint task force covering the Kwara-Kogi corridor with 4 operating bases in Iruku, Babala, Okero, and Isalu. 6, direct the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and NEMA to provide immediate relief support to traumatized families and affected communities, especially where schools have been shut down. 7, mandate the Senate to investigate the root causes of rising insecurity and the role of internal collaborators and report back within 14 days. 8, advise the federal government to strengthen the local vigilante to be able to respond swiftly to similar attack in future. This This should also include a review of Nigerian firearm law to reflect the current security challenges, as we have in over 175 countries where responsible citizens are permitted to own guns. 9, mandate the Senate to investigate the sudden withdrawal of military personnel from the Kebbi school shortly before the bandits' invasion and report back urgently. 10, resolve that the Senate undertake a diplomatic engagement with the United States of America and other allied nations' parliament to strengthen cooperations on intelligence sharing, counter-terrorism training, and technological support in addressing Nigerian security challenges. Observe a 2-minute silence for the memory of the past souls. I so submit, Your Excellency.
Deputy Senate President.
Thank you, Mr. President. I stand to second the motion as ably presented by Senator Ashiru Oyolola Yisa, Deputy Leader of the Senate. Mr. President, we can clearly observe that the rate of kidnappings and banditry activities increased all over the country just after President Trump made a statement about the possibility of the United States.
President who?
President Trump of the United States. Of the United States.
Yes.
Made a statement showing his intention, the intention of his country to intervene militarily because of...
Tell Senator Mustafa not to interrupt you.
I'm protected.
He said, I'm not looking at that side. I'm seeing everywhere. I only wanted you to clarify who was Trump. So anybody can bear Trump.
Okay.
And he can even be a president of a tennis club. So that's why I said president what?
Yeah.
And which country, and then you clarify.
Exactly. So since he made that statement, showing the possibility of the United States to intervene militarily here in order to deal with the perceived notion that there's a genocide of Christians in Nigeria. Since then, the spate of these terrorist activities have increased in this country, which shows that those who are into this heinous crime do not love our country. They don't love our country. So they want to propel that intention of the United States, but they shall never succeed. Mr. President, we are facing challenges as a nation. We have faced several challenges before now. Before now, of course, it was the issue of armed robbery. Armed robbery everywhere in this country. But we're able to deal with that problem, and we shall also, by grace of God, deal with this problem where we will no longer hear about these heinous crimes being, committed on our land. Before now, it was difficult for you to travel along our road networks without being attacked by armed robbers. But we're able to deal with this problem when the deployment of technology came in, and then we had a cashless policy in line with international best practices. That has stopped. Not even that. Recently, we're faced with COVID-19. We're able to deal with the problem. The United States, that is best put in place in terms of military power in the whole world, had a similar problem where it was attacked by terrorists. Thousands were killed, but they were able to deal with their problem within the United States and even had assistance from all over the world. They were assisted. Now, what do we do in this situation? What we need to do in this situation is to look inwards and try to deal with our problem. This problem is surmountable, and we shall surmount the problem by the collective zeal of the Nigerian people. How do you do this? Bring in the efforts of everyone. The issue of security is a security for all. It's something that is for all of us. It doesn't reside on the shoulders of the federal government alone, nor the state governments, nor the local governments. Everybody has to come together. We need to come together by way of making sure that, now, as we speak, the state governments are having a wonderful time making more money, right? Also the local governments. So we need to come together, harness what is necessary, what is important for us to achieve our aim of eliminating this issue of insecurity, so that, for instance, every state of the federation, because these problems, the route used by the terrorists are interconnected from one state to the other. So if you decide, if for instance we decide to deal with the problem in one state alone, that will not produce the necessary result. So all the states must be doing the same thing at the right time, at the same time. Deploy technology by way of making sure, because everybody knows that by the time you have surveillance, drones and what have you, you'll be able to see these people that move in convoy. They move in convoy to commit these atrocities. So we should deploy technology and have our men train, because the military is doing its best. We know they are doing their best, but we need to come together and help them. So every state should be able to secure its own area by way of collaborating with the military, with all the security agencies. We should be able to do that all over the country. And when we're able to do that, I think we can find a solution to this problem. Leaving the matter alone for federal government will not work. As I said earlier, the United States, when it got into problem, everybody came on board. Even, foreign countries came to assist the United States. That was the United States for you, but the number one military power in the world. So we should also seek assistance from overseas, from our partners, from our allies, so that we can put our efforts together and deal with this problem. It's surmountable. Mr. President, we need to begin now. We need to touch all those, in fact, even, business corporations, high net worth individuals. I'll give an example, Mr. President. In the 9th Senate, I was approached by the DG of a security agency. I'll not name that agency. He told me there was the need for them to have a surveillance of a city, a very, very key city in this country. I will not name the city for security concern. And he said they submitted their budget, but they could not have funding for that project because of a positive funds. That he felt, instead of going to Mr. President, I should see how I can assist. I said, well, no problem. How much do you need? He told me the amount. I said, we cannot provide all what you need in 1 year. He said, yeah, it's okay, because this project is a big one, it should be phased. So I provided money for the project for year 1, year 2, and year 3, and the project was concluded. Now in that city, wherever you go, whatever you do, you are safe. Even if you are related on the street, they watch you, they know what you are doing. So I did that. So by the time you touch all the state governments, they can also do this kind of arrangement in their states, with the collaboration of the security agencies, the military, and so on and so forth. So it should be a collective effort. If you deal with the problem here and you don't deal with the other side, they will run from one end to the other. So, Mr. President, it's something that is doable. We should do it so that we can secure our country. I say so, Mr. President.
The leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm very distinguished senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Mr. President, there comes a time in the life of every nation, organization, or individual when you come to a decision that first you recognize that this is a turning point, and two, that it must not be business as usual. Mr. President, the events of the last 2 weeks in our country with respect to insecurity have further shown that on both sides, something needs to be done. On the side of government, we have seen increased efforts at trying to combat these insecurity challenges headlong, while on the part of the Nigerian people, we have also seen concerned positions. We have seen frustration. We have seen well-founded fear that unless something is done urgently, we may be losing it as a nation. Yet we must not. Mr. President, as a parliament, we are not unaware of the efforts of the federal government in moving so swiftly to secure the lives of those who were kidnapped. In fact, we have witnessed an unusual situation at the level of recovery. While those were happening, we're also being told of different narratives. But what is important is that a lot of people kidnapped, at least from Kwara through Kebbi to Niger, a lot of them have regained their freedom. At what cost is what a lot of Nigerians are wondering. Some Nigerians have said government negotiated to get them out. Those are facts that only the people in charge of our security can be able to confirm. But one thing that we have also witnessed and recognized an official position of government is that government has not been paying ransom. What is good news about this, that no one can run away from, is the fact that these people regain their freedom without a life being lost. However, while Nigerians are celebrating the fact that no life was lost on the side of those who were kept in captivity and who regained their freedom, Nigerians are not smiling at the fact that they did not read or hear about lives being lost on the part of those who took them into captivity. In other words, some Nigerians have argued, show us that a bullet was shot to regain this freedom. But we are not insisting on one style or approach. Government has always said, and it is said all over the world, that you combine both kinetic and non-kinetic approaches to address this issue. But what is important today is the fact that we are not dealing with a conventional war situation. As of 2015, we had these terrorists posting their banners in certain, more than a few local government areas in our country, including the local government of the distinguished Chief Whip, Senator Mongono in Borno State. But today, it is also an achievement on the part of government that no territory in our country is under the custody or leadership or control of these terrorists. However, it does not mean that the war has ended. What we have witnessed is a shift in strategy and style. There is no army anywhere today as a standing army to be confronted by our military, positioned at one place or hoisting their flag anywhere. But they have gone underground and they are operating as cells. So what this means is that because it's no longer a conventional warfare, there's also the need for us to continue to adopt styles that will make it easier for our military to engage, these people. And I also want to appeal to our colleagues in the parliament, both at the federal level and at the state level, that this is not the time to grandstand. It's about security of lives and property. I witnessed some of the debate by some of our colleagues on the floor of the House of Representatives yesterday. And one of them was specifically calling on this National Assembly to shut down. As far as I'm concerned, a call for the National Assembly to shut itself down because of this insecurity situation is a call for abdication of our constitutional rules. We're a part of this government, and we did not start this problem. Both the executive arm and the legislative arm of government as it is inherited this insecurity problem. But that must not be an excuse. We must deal with the problem, and I'm happy all hands are on deck in both the executive and the legislative arm. This Senate set up an ad hoc committee on National Security Summit, partly to address some of these issues. But today, the motion raised by the deputy leader in some of the prayers also raised certain issues. Some of the issues raised will require specific investigation. Part of my own suggestion, Mr. President, will be by the time all our colleagues would have contributed and we are taking our decisions, let us engage all our committees, security-related committees, the Senate Committee on Defense, on Army, on Air Force, and on national security, even interior, should come to, and special duties, should come together and conduct a joint investigation into some of the issues raised in this motion. What happened in Kebbi? Was it true that soldiers were withdrawn just hours before the attack, and some other specific issues? I think they need to be looked into, they need to be investigated. However, we are calling on the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces to rejig the security architecture of the country, which has become necessary and which a lot of Nigerians are also clamoring for. I feel that it's important in-house for us as a Senate to even look into our own arrangement. As a senator and as a principal officer, I am not impressed, for instance, with the performance of the Senate Committee on Security and Intelligence. And I feel that that's an area that we need to look into. Some of the motions that the single senators are bringing, some of the concerns being expressed by some of our colleagues are things that I believe our Committee on Security and Intelligence could have been, on top of. So at this point, I think that should be part of our own starting point, to even look inward and see in what areas we can do the rejigging ourselves to give us the credibility to keep calling on the executive arm of government to rejig our security architecture. I thank you so much, sir.
Distinguished Senator Mongoro.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, my name is Mohamed Monguno. I represent Borno.
So many people want to talk, so we just limit it to one minute. All right.
Okay. I represent Borno North Senatorial District. Mr. President, first and foremost, I wish to associate myself with the submissions made by the previous speakers, especially the one that commends Mr. President for acting swiftly to the immediate recovery of the kidnapped Nigerians, as opposed to the protracted and lingering approach when the ugly scenario of the kidnap of Chibok school girls occurred that led to the fact that up to now, some of the Chibok school girls were not recovered. Mr. President needs to be commended for acting swiftly that brought the hearing of these kidnapped Nigerians. Then, Mr. President, I equally wish to commend Mr. President for ordering the withdrawal of police escort attached to BIFs. Mr. President, I also have four policemen attached to me in my house. Mr. President, as it is now, majority of our policemen are attached to sites, thereby depriving the Nigerian police of performing their main role of policing the country. So this order by Mr. President will go a long way in freeing the police to perform one of their primary constitutional functions of policing the country. Because as it is now, even the ratio that is recommended for policing we cannot meet it. Then the second one is to call upon, maybe when it comes to the prayer, I will add an additional prayer for more recruitment into the Nigerian police force, in addition to the withdrawal. Because security is a primacy of governance. The social contract that the people had with the government is for the people to surrender their sovereignty to government, and in return expect that their lives and property will be protected. So that is part of governance, and if we can debate this issue of security for the whole day, we are doing the right thing, because that is the essence of governance. Thank you.
Thank you for
with challenges left and right on both the part of this nation. I think the motion is more timely and therefore deserve to be endorsed by all assembly. Mr. President, the memo has all the problems and challenges What is required most is, Mr. President, what action or actions are we taking to address these challenges in our country? Instead of rescuing the abducted, why can't we be capturing the bandits and their team leaders and so on and so on? I think that should be what we should be after, not merely rescuing the abducted. It's a country, it's a nation. Mr. President, the hideout whereby they engage them and bring them to order. Mr. President, we have heard so much on this narrative all over this in the 8th, 9th, and in the 10th Senate now. It is time now to act. We have spoken enough. We have said enough, and the nation has been watching us as their representatives. What are we going to do next? I'm glad in prayer number 10, he asked for a special committee to review and advise the Senate, but the time given to us is too short. Mr. President, I want let there be 4 weeks for this committee to report back to the Senate what can be better done. Mr. President, I happen to be one of the security committees in the 9th Senate, and I can see the gadget available in most of the senior security heads. they can watch in the offices the comfort of all the police in this country. What is missing then? Why can't we make effort to take this policy one by one and come there and get them finished, that the nation can have peace? Mr. President, I very much believe that we can do it, and we must do it. Finally, Mr. President, I'm afraid I have to disagree with the idea of withdrawing police aids to be another danger, because the BIPs are going to be next target, and the government will come back and revert the policy. You see, Mr. President, the number of military attached to retired generals, there are too many. Let's do something there as well. Not only the BIPs, because there are also BIPs. President, like I said earlier, we need to get our act together. Let's see what best can be done. Even under fear. And the action in the last few days is even increasing that fear. Those of our schools, boardings within school, it doesn't make good image of us. We should not submit to this bandit. This is just to submit to the power of government and governance. Mr. President, I so submit. Thank you.
The Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, my name remains Abamoro. Mr. President, I want to thank my colleague, Deputy Leader of the Senate, for bringing up this motion, which I think very timely. And Mr. President, it is a little scary here that one community after the other, from one state after the other, continues to come under the hammer of bandits. Mr. President, if you look at what we have here.
This is the network service of the Nigerian television. A recent spike of attacks on soft targets by insurgents, and also commending the prompt response of President Bola Tinubu as well as the security agents in abducted during the attacks. We are also expressing opinion on what needs to be done going forward to improve the state of security across Nigeria. This is where we come to